And hello, everybody. Welcome to WD Carousel of Podcast. My name's Crystal.
And I'm Ian.
And today we are going to do another game review.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
I don't know why I did that.
I don't know. It's like foreboding. Mostly because we just don't know what we're going to talk about. It's fine. We're good.
I mean, we know what we're going to talk about, but the problem with this game is this is a game that has been around all of your life.
Except for a couple of months. Yes.
Yes.
But that's just splitting hairs, isn't it?
This has been around since my childhood. Mm-hmm. And we literally had to dust off the copy. Before we could bring it on camera today, so we could show you guys that we are going to be kind of reviewing, kind
of talking about the history of Aladdin for Genesis.
The Genesis game. Yes. Ian has the Sega Genesis. Yes. We pulled this bad boy out.
I got a Sega Genesis as a gift from a band for having me record them, and now I just have a Genesis, and
now we tried to play. We tried. We attempted to play Aladdin.
No, I actually didn't attempt to play Aladdin.
I attempted
to play Aladdin.
And our live studio audience attempted to play Aladdin.
He actually did play Aladdin.
Yes.
More than
more than just that one instance where we tried really hard. But let's go over some of the fact things about this game before we get to
how it plays.
Gameplay.
Yes. So as we had mentioned, it is been around nearly my whole life. It was released on November 11th, 1993. Which, is peak Genesis, which is, it was developed by Virgin Games, which I don't think that they make games anymore. But
no, Virgin doesn't do a lot anymore. No,
they're just kind of they have a couple of hotels and mobile.
I was going to say they had Virgin Mobile, they had Virgin Air, they had Virgin Video Games,
I think they've got... do they even do records? Anyway.
I don't know.
Regardless, Virgin used to do a lot of stuff, and they for a while had a games division, that was actually the developer. It wasn't even the publisher. They actually developed it. So crazy. And it was co-published by Disney Software, which may have a new name now. I don't know what they call it anymore. Disney Interactive, maybe. I don't know. And Sega. So obviously, if you're releasing on a Sega platform, usually Sega will have something to do with it in some way or another.
That is a good assumption to have.
And also, a thing that's interesting about this game is it was kind of one of the early killer apps for Genesis, because at the time when Genesis launched, I don't think it had a lot on there, because Sonic and stuff didn't come out till a little bit later.
Yes, this was actually one of the big, it got Sega's name
on the map.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. So it was, and it's unusual because there isn't a lot of times where a movie tie-in, franchise tie-in game that kind of has a really strong gameplay, well-liked gameplay thing. But we'll kind of get into that. But it's unusual, and the fact that it put the Genesis on the map is kind of shocking. So anyway, so in January of 93, which is the same year, the very beginning of the same year, they started developing it with a budget of $250,000. The other thing that's kind of crazy about it is they brought in 10 animators from Disney to work on development, so they actually had those animators come in and do hand animation and hand cell animation of all the elements in the game.
Yeah, so when did Aladdin actually come out in theaters? Was it 91?
It was...
Hold on.
Yes, we are looking. Hold, please. But
92.
92, yeah.
So it was literally out for a year.
Yeah. So they brought in these animators from Disney, and they had them work on these hand-drawn pieces, and they actually had Disney animators work on the actual graphics for the game, which is cool for two reasons. One, that's neat that they actually had Disney animators come in and work on it.
Oh, you're bringing neat back again this episode.
Oh, man, I am. The second thing is that they... it was the very first use of hand-drawn graphics in a video game. Ever, which is weird. You'd think that it wouldn't be, but it makes sense because
everything else was bitted.
It was it was all very single pixely stuff, and so it wouldn't have made a lot of sense. So they actually it
they were able to use their skills
Yes.
to be able to bring
Yes.
the story of Aladdin to life in a way that actually looked
Yes.
familiar.
And on top of that, even with this really compressed time frame, like they only had like a quarter of the amount of time that you would normally have for game development to do this game, and so it made it very tight on Virgin development. So in that time, they also had to develop their own internal compression tools to get those hand-drawn animations into the cartridge, which is not easy. I mean, like, it's...
I don't know how to even know.
I'm just like, I want to make a zip file. Like, I don't know how you... Like, it's just such an advanced thing they had to do. They had to get these hand-drawn things. They had to build an algorithm that actually, like, compressed them down into a 16-bit graphic that they could actually bake into the cartridge, which is... It's actually kind of impressive, and the gameplay does show how kind of interesting it makes it overall. In terms of music, they were able to use a lot of arrangements that came from the movie. Like, they actually used a lot of the original music and stuff.
I couldn't get past them constantly playing Prince Ali.
Yeah, that was rough.
On rotation.
Yes. Well,
nonstop.
When you get stuck on the same level, I wish they had a little more variation to keep it going. But anyway.
It's okay. I couldn't leave the marketplace.
Yeah. Because,
I'm not a gamer.
Yeah. Which is fun that we're just like... going for it anyway.
We wanted to try it.
It's fun. But they also had some original work done for filler so they would use kind of elements from original arrangements from the film, and then also use pieces that were built for the game specifically, which is,
I love that when we pulled this out, though, we still had to blow on the cartridge.
Oh,
That's
yes.
something that I don't understand. Now, I'm not the tech person in the group. I don't understand how technology is shared between anything. More or less why, when I was a child and working with my Super Nintendo, I had to blow on a cartridge and put it in a couple times to get it to work. But we had to do that with this one, too. The
theory being, this is slightly a tangent, but I'm gonna just plow through it. The theory being is it's not actually blowing on it. It's the sense of having to reseat it multiple times into the slot. Actually lets it. She did it. You hear it? You hear the thing?
Oh no! Everybody at home knows what that sound is,
right? Yeah, that's classic. So basically, it's reseating the pins into the slot multiple times is the theory. So if it doesn't quite work the first time, you do it again. The blowing on it's just kind of a ruse, but like what you actually do is
it makes me feel like I'm contributing.
It makes you feel like you're contributing. I do it too. I full well should know better, but I just do it anyway. It's fun.
Habit.
Yeah. So it mostly for me
30-year habit.
With the Genesis, it's all about slamming it in. And you just like slam it into the thing in exactly the right way, otherwise it wouldn't boot.
This is a family-friendly show, Ian.
You know what? Only if you take it bad is it bad, which we all did. But
Patreon, you could be a thing.
You could be a thing. You want to join our Patreon? Be an interesting Disney
Okay,
podcast.
so we were able to get some of the arrangements from this film, and we were talking about that, and me being stuck in Prince Ali forever.
Yes. So they had those custom pieces things done, as well as the original work. And it was so successful, like we'd mentioned earlier, it is so successful that they actually ported it over to other stuff. So you had... it's like, I think it's like 95% on most stuff. Like, it's like a weirdly high number for a game, especially
back then. That's shocking.
It's shocking, and that it maintains that score
because they
today.
had exclusives. Like,
yes.
Now you have a lot of cross promotion of games in an Xbox One and a PS4 and a console, and then computer PC, and then all of that other stuff.
Right.
So to see it back then was almost unheard of.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's even in modern standards, it has maintained that score, which is crazy. But even at the time, they ported it to all sorts of stuff, including Microsoft DOS, so early DOS stuff, because DOS.
My God, DOS systems.
Commodore Amiga. Commodore Amiga, and then they did it for the NES, which I didn't know.
The Nintendo.
Yeah, the NES did it, which was cool, and that port is what they ended up using to develop the Game Boy port. Not plate. It says plate up there.
It does say plate
it
up
says
there.
Plate up there. I don't know what's wrong with me. But yeah, so they actually used kind of the same base, the base that they built for the code base for the NES version. They ended up developing into the Game Boy version.
Nice.
So that's available on both, which is kind of neat. It was developed for a couple other platforms as well. You know what? I don't know why neat became part of my vocabulary, but it is now.
I
It's
love
here
it.
to stay.
It's gonna stay.
It's gonna stay. And in addition to
and this next point is the whole reason why we brought this up.
talking about this. This is true. So after all these years now, they've come back and they've launched a new combo game pack.
Yeah, 20 odd years later, 22 years later.
Yeah, well, 26 years later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because this just came out. So,
yeah. So I think it was recent. I think it was very recently.
2019.
Okay.
So 26 years later.
Yes, frightening. They packaged it with also another critically acclaimed Genesis game, Lion King,
which we will talk about another time.
Yes, we'll have to brace
I'm
ourselves.
going to need more Tylenol.
Yes. Right. So they created a combined version of it, and they launched it for basically all of the modern platforms. So they launched it for the Nintendo Switch, the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and Microsoft Windows. Which is kind of cool. Notice there's no Sega stuff up there. May it rest in peace.
Sega.
Yeah. But so
if you want to be able to play it yourself now, you do have the option to do so without having to
do what we did.
Find a Genesis system, find the old game, and then give yourself a headache trying to watch a 16-bit game on 4K television.
So number one lesson learned from Ian is don't play 16-bit games on a 4K television. I think the biggest problem was I didn't have the foresight to keep my old Trinitron television.
Nope.
So that's gone, and now we're stuck without it, and I'll just have to find another one. I don't know what's going to happen. We'll figure it out. But
it'll be an adventure.
It'll be a little adventure. So anyway, so that's kind of the
so let's get into the gameplay a bit here. Right. Okay. So we plug it in.
Yeah.
And of course, all of a sudden the nostalgia is coming back of me being a child sitting down in my friend's basement eating cookie dough and watching her play this.
I love the cookie dough detail. That's my favorite.
It's vibrant in my head.
It's vibrant.
I don't know why, but sneaking cookie dough chunks out of her parents' freezer in the basement and eating that and playing video games was just our thing.
Why not?
But
you couldn't play.
No, I couldn't play because I wasn't allowed to play video games at their house, but I watched.
There you go.
So now I got to play it as an adult, and boy, is it a different controller system than
most modern game systems have now.
So you know how, just from personal experience, it doesn't matter what format that you're playing with, you normally have the A, B, X, Y in some combo on your right hand side, and then you have your directionals on the left hand side.
Yeah.
On this one, you have the directionals on the left hand side, and then you have 6 buttons.
Flying off the
two
side.
rows.
Yes.
And what I think is
that true? Is it
yes.
2 rows?
Yeah. Well, there's 3. 2 rows of 3.
Oh.
6 buttons. 2 rows of 3.
Okay. We have a controller somewhere. I just
yes,
don't get it.
It's literally right over here someplace, and we're not going to grab it.
We're not going to grab it.
But I am trying to jump where most other consoles have their jump button. I end up throwing an apple.
I was like, why?
I'm trying to fight with a sword or something.
Yeah.
And I end up jumping or, doing something weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, and it's just confusion. And the timing in the controller, because it's an attached controller, is delayed from what you're trying to do, and you have the options of being able to, like I said, jump, throw apples, and fight.
Yes.
Okay, which sounds super simple because there's 3, but you have 6 buttons to choose from, and you don't know which of the 6 buttons is what.
Yeah.
As well as you have like a genie lamp that's supposedly showing you your health bar, but you don't really understand it because like they don't tell you that the smoke goes away.
Yeah.
And that you can't regain that. And then there's like this peddler that all of a sudden shows up. Robin Williams' first character in the movie where he's like, salam and good evening to you, my worthy friends. And he's trying to sell you stuff and you don't know what you need to buy.
Right.
Or how to buy it.
Them. And it turns out it's gems. Like you've
already been collecting, but they don't explain it to you.
Right.
And you don't realize you can buy new lives or you can do other stuff.
Right.
And so you're just kind of passing through. And then you get to like these pots that all of a sudden you run by them and they turn into genies' heads. And you're like, okay, is this a save spot? But then you die and you don't go back there. You just die. There's
like a certain number of Aladdins you get. It's very much like that old school game thing where you have like a certain number of characters until it's game over, like arcade style.
Yeah, it's arcade style
so
gaming.
It's got both a checkpoint and arcade style permadeath. And I'm like, I love this, honestly.
So even if you get to the next area, our live studio audience was able to get out of the marketplace and started going through the desert.
Yes.
And that's as far as they got. And then it went kaputznik. I couldn't even get to the desert. I
honestly am impressed you got as far as you did because I know that I would not be able to get there.
Yeah, it was I forgot. I mean, I knew that this game was frustrating.
Yeah.
Because, childhood memory slightly, around the cookie dough memories.
Yeah.
But, I remembered being able to like swing from posts and bounce off of things. And I do remember throwing apples, but I don't even know how many levels there are.
Right.
I mean, if we take the movie into consideration,
it's supposed to kind of follow the movie to a certain degree.
Because we didn't even hit the Cave of Wonders yet, which I remember was a huge thing.
Sure.
And then there has to be like at least 2 or 3 more levels after the Cave of Wonders.
Yeah.
I would think. Probably going back to the marketplace for one of them.
Right.
But there's no way to be able to walk away from the game either.
Right.
You can't save and come back. You can't leave.
Now,
you are tied in.
Yes.
This is your life until you die.
Yes. Now, with the re-release version for Switch and all the modern consoles, I suspect there's probably some sort of save state, is my guess.
Oh, there better be.
It might be something that we end up investigating. I just didn't want to shell out the Switch premium money for that at this point, but it might be worth trying because the other thing that's nice about the re-release is that it will work on an HD TV.
Yes.
Which would be maybe worth it.
Helpful for visual graphics.
Yes, and it's probably going to be more responsive because it's, direct, all native, everything works the way it's supposed to. But there was something deeply fun about booting up and hearing the Sega logo and getting the Genesis experience. 'Cause that's always kind of fun to break it out when you can, because that was a neat one.
So you watched us play.
I did, yes.
What were your thoughts?
It looked really hard. It looked really hard. I saw when you guys were playing it, like I was watching it and it looked difficult when you guys were playing it, and I know that like you guys both have more experience with platformers than I do, which is crazy. Because I kind of jumped in kind of after the platformers era, minus Super Mario 64 or whatever.
Yeah. You're more PC focused.
I always played more PC games. That was kind of always my deal. But it was intense. Like there was a lot of timing stuff. There was a lot of knowing what to use on a specific thing. Where you have a certain kind of character that's attacking you. It works best if you hit him at a distance versus being melee and being really close.
And you think you're throwing apples and you're jumping. It was into hot fire coals.
Yeah. And for a game that's 26 years old, it's surprisingly well surprisingly fleshed out with stuff. Like even the fact that you have like the peddler you can go to and like, you know, buy things, and there's a lot going on there. I mean, it's still limited in the fact that you get only a certain number of Aladdin lives, and you know, once that's over, you have to start over, and there's no save states. It's like very much has the trappings of the original, you know, kind of that style of game stuff. But it was very nice, and also the music was pretty good.
The tinny do do do
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to be for copyrights.
Yeah, right. I think we'll be okay. It worked. Like it worked surprisingly well, and the nostalgia factor for sure. Even though that it was a little bit before my memory, I'm sure I've seen it before. Even just, you know, with people that had the game console when I was young. It certainly had that nostalgia factor when the title screen came on. You had the whole thing. It was neat. I think it was a cool game, and I get why they have brought it back, because it does hold up surprisingly well, even though it's got 16-bit graphics and all that. But it makes a lot of sense now, knowing that it was based on hand-drawn work. I think that was neat that they brought in original Disney hand-drawn work that they brought in specifically for the game, had developed for the game, and it really does give it an additional level of authenticity that I think you wouldn't get
and this
otherwise.
This was ideal the Renaissance Disney time period. We were bringing it back. Might as well make advances into other popular, you know, art forms. Yeah.
And I think this was definitely one of the earlier ones that they brought in, where Disney kind of came in and did stuff. Did they have a lot of stuff earlier? I don't know.
Well, I mean, the Disney Renaissance only started in '89 with The Little Mermaid.
Right.
So this is only, you know, a couple years after that. Aladdin came out, and then.
But in terms of video games, this might have been one of the early ones, right?
I don't know if this is earlier than Castle of Illusion.
Oh, yeah.
Because we talked about that one as well.
We did.
But I think that was a handheld console, which would be after this ?
Oh, boy.
I wish we still had access to that, because your phone is
not available.
Occupied.
It's occupado.
But I feel like this would have been before Castle of Illusion, but I don't know. I mean, gaming was just starting to, like, console gaming was just starting to pick up here in regards to multiple.
Yeah. So interestingly, it was 1990. Castle of Illusion was 1990. So it was 3 years earlier, and it was for Genesis.
Well, we knew that we had talked about it being for Genesis. I played it with the smaller handheld Genesis.
Game Gear, probably.
Yeah, that's the one that I did. Yep, that bad boy right there.
Yeah, Game Gear. And so the Game Gear stuff. Oh. And then they also re-released it for, like, because
it was an 8-bit, and this is a 16-bit that we're talking about.
Right. So they created an 8-bit version for the Sega Master System and a couple of other things. But I think that was kind of one of Disney's very first forays into.
So that it also
gaming.
makes sense then that Disney would pair up again with Sega for this, where they're actually doing a movie-based game, because they had such success with Castle of Illusion. If you have any questions about that, we did a previous episode. Go check that out. Don't know what number that is, but it's in there someplace.
Yes,
and
indeed.
It would make sense that they would continue on with this, as well as our future episode of The Lion King,
which I am curious to try that out.
That also
as well.
shows that it's getting harder and harder and harder, because we both played Castle of Illusion, the updated version of Castle of Illusion.
Yeah, we didn't have the
original. And then going back to this was even more difficult. And then it'll be interesting to see
how the Lion King is. That's
so
going to be exciting. Maybe we'll do a special edition where we try to play it. That'll be fun. I can't make any promises on that, but maybe we'll do it.
Just sit here yelling at each other.
And the game. Just it'll be great.
Yeah, you guys want to watch that, right? 100%.
Subscribe on Patreon.
Did you guys play this growing up? I mean, are we the only ones that knew that this existed? Or have played it, or have any sort of childhood memories of it? Were you able to ever beat it? If so, how long did it take you? Because
Right.
I never have.
Right.
And I'm curious.
Indeed.
So
Me as well.
on that note, this has been WD Carousel of Podcast. My name's Crystal.
And I'm Ian.
And we hope you have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Bye, everybody.